and you could count on maybe all hands and feet how many respawn beacons were out there. There were a ton of them, which is the best thing to make sure you are keeping your team back in the fight. Mind you, if you're going to be hyper aggressive here in game number 2 of Delta Force Global League Season 2 Europe Warfare, get it now. Bring it to 1-1.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Here we go. We're back to Trainwreck. We swap sides. Again, the same thing. Your attack is going to be in red. Your defense is going to be in green all the way through, but they have swapped sides this time around. So pumped to see what happens for these teams. Trainwreck, I'd love to see the rest of this map. It's a beautiful map, and I think it's going to come down to vehicle usage. But again, tiebreaker, they've just got to capture that first point. If they capture A, they win the tiebreaker, and they'll have priority selection going into game 3. But of course, they can win the whole tournament right now by winning this map. The attack's got to take every single point. So let's get into it and see what they're able to do this time around as everybody spawns in. 180 lives to start things off.
Ooh, all right, let's get into it. Okay. So immediately seeing kind of where people are going to be spawning, and as you look at it, they're going to immediately break. Some people are going to look towards that building in the center here, but obviously you want to kind of maneuver down onto the ground. Like you can shoulder peek around, maybe extend out a little further, use some of that utility, as you can see, signal decoder, all of the goodies here. But if we're going to just put that pressure on, the kill feed is already lighting up. You can see it there. Cupid's trying to answer back, but it's going to be Caspian, Exent just getting those opening frags.
Yeah, and it's all about the respawn beacon play. You saw how many. It looks like Exent was able to push all the way up and place one pretty deep into enemy territory for the defensive side. Pretty good strategy to make sure they can get bodies there as needed. Get bodies on the point quickly from a different angle. But slowly but surely, I think based, again, on the comms I saw from the attack, this is a patient game. We don't need to play super aggressive. We need to look for openings, and we need to make sure the same thing doesn't happen to us the way it happened to our opponents just a moment ago. And so you can see the difference. Look at the slow play here from our tank operator off in the distance, just providing some covering fire, trying to blow some walls down the front, which I believe he might have already done to make sure this point's a little bit easier to access.
I'm all about that, but on board with Vazia, immediately diving for cover. It's all about, if you're going to be Stinger, you are a battle medic, which is great, right? But you're also a self-healing extraordinaire. So why not drop onto the ATV, reposition yourself, and keep that pressure on, especially if you're looking for some of these cheeky angles. Go behind enemy lines. Flanking is imperative to take everyone by storm, especially though they'll make that call out. So I can only imagine we'll be able to get a couple of kills out of this. But looking to the hills, you see the player peek just closer. Unfortunately, on their left, and will be cut down.
Yeah, trading of blows here, but already some action on point A. As Funky and co are on the point, battling for a hold here. You can see on the left-hand side, this is a commander issuing an order. This is going to, obviously, if you're able to secure this, you're going to get extra points for your team to be able to use your support systems. But already the attack making nice headway on the point. Defense, a nice counterattack, though. They've opened things back up because our tank is not playing extremely aggressive. There's a little bit more room to work with on this point, and the defense is able to get there faster.
I mean, you think about the differences that we saw comparatively to game 1 and game number 2. Where was that vehicle in game 1? It was inside of A, trying their best to survive. But when you have a slew of engineers ready to completely combat that and rip it down, of course you want to be more conservative with your tank. Maybe use that long to mid-range. And here we go, boy, hitting the res, preserving those tickets and getting the teams back on their feet. And do I see a John DeBomb in the vehicle? Because that makes perfect sense at this point.
John DeBomb in the tank playing the backline support. Has opened things up pretty dramatically for his team. They're able to get back onto the point yet again. They've also got a transport vehicle that is swarming the point. This one we can give away for free as needed, comparatively to our tank. Tank playing backup. Here's a look at it. On the back line, shelling down into the point, at least getting some folks weak, if not a couple kills left, right, and center. You can see kills coming through. You also see Slicks in the tank picking up some kills as well. So far, so good. Hyson, our commander, I think, in that transport vehicle, getting active on the point. The attack have a nice push right now, and I think John DeBomb's plan is to try to bring down some of these defensive players that are running towards the point, less shelling the point. We've got to weed out those numbers so my people on the point can actually win their fights.
Well, back on board, Polska Gurum here. Mind you, they were on the losing side on game number 1, and they just have to get A here to tie it up. So Zerf says, that's fine. I'll get active, dive straight in. It doesn't even matter. And we'll even preserve, get our team back up. And Quapoti is going to come back in, commander for the team here on your screen. But I love this. That's how you gotta do it. Just be aggressive. Use that cover naturally. And even with the pistol fight, the reload coming in, I thought he was gonna be able to save that.
Yeah, unfortunately it goes down, and that is a successful A capture. That is not the tournament. We're not done yet, but that does mean our attacking team right now, which is Team Bravo, will win the tiebreaker, even if they don't win this entire map. But this is obviously the furthest we've gotten this map thus far. And again, I think it's a really well-coordinated effort from the side of Team Bravo. As they're on an attack right now, they're in final form. They're basically only down 7 tickets from start, right? We started at 180. They lost about 60. They gained back about 50. Very well done so far. Now it's about controlling this high ground position on the hill, be able to push back the attack, try to weed out their numbers, and make sure they don't have a continual momentum push onto B. B, not an insanely difficult point to grab, especially if you have momentum. You see the vehicles getting involved in the back line, should open things up a little bit. But if you get stifled here, there is a decent chance the game could end on B. The point is underneath the bridge. And so depending on the way the defense sets up, if they're able to kind of stifle this momentum, slow things down, and get fully set up, it actually can be decently difficult to take. So we'll see what they're able to do here.
Will be tough. I mean, look, initially, once they unlocked B, you saw what the vehicles did do. They split to the opposing side. You have Yellow Love and John DeBomb just ahead of Volkswagen here, and thankfully, we are investing as much of this damage as we can, and quite frankly, we're open here, but no one's going to be able to destroy him just yet. He's using that natural terrain just ahead of B for that cover, and honestly, a near miss, because I will say John DeBomb is one of the most evasive vehicle drivers when it comes to warfare. And the Pocket Engineers are already there.
Yeah, I think that's such a key call out. If you haven't watched a coordinated warfare tournament, engineers are everything. Tanks, vehicle warfare, obviously a big key factor in success, but the vehicle warfare just doesn't exist without the engineers. Keeping that thing alive constantly, having the Pocket Engineers changes the game entirely. One of the things I'm noticing, you know, less Pocket Engineers even, and more coordinated effort. I think the defense right now struggling to coordinate with their missile attacks. You can have all the engineers you want, but if you got 5 AT4s all firing around the same time at the tank, that thing's going down. And that's what happened in the last one, mostly because the tank was somewhat out of position. It was easier to target, but even still, it seems like they just can't quite get their footing here on the defensive side. And I think it's just a matter of time before they get broken wide open on B as well.
Well, I love that we're already making these changes and these adaptations here, especially on Polska Gurem here. The Shepherds, right? You want to bring out those sonic traps, the frag grenades, anything that you can. They're already working to rip apart the vehicles and stop these pushes that you were talking about. So seeing them adapt quickly, it's going to need to happen. However, when you have John DeBomb, who's constantly lighting up that kill feed, just being an absolute nuisance, it's going to make things more difficult for the other side. And you can see it. The entrance right here on the bottom left, just full sending in. Heisen, the captain, the commander-in-chief, right there alongside them.
So far, so good. John DeBomb getting pretty active on the point this time. He's got his engineers, recognizes it's not a coordinated effort. A couple missiles striking, looking decently low, but engineer's going to keep him up, like you said. It's a great effort from Turbo. He just needs more help. We need more people, and they finally get it down. Tank is down from what I saw. Heisen down as well. John DeBomb killed. This could be an opening that the defense needs. The problem is, it's just too little too late. We're already moving into points C1 and C2. And here's the thing, Tiff. Yes, we lost the tank, but we've absolutely earned enough score to call in another one. I think that was a nice strategic call from John to say, we can sacrifice this vehicle because I can get another one right after this, especially if it lets us capture this point.
Yeah, I think that's just absolutely the move there. You can see Slick center of your screen making a move, and it's Heisen, right? Our commander. He's got that nice logo on top of him so you can keep tabs on him in the free cam all the way out towards the right. Now, the biggest important thing is going to make sure that you've got all of the information necessary for these coordinated pushes. So diving on board, Q-Pitch first to go down. Canyon trying to hold it together. 5 HP, gonna fall. Fraser team looking for the angles. That SG-552 in hand, and we're just looking for some of that mid-range backup. Even just popping over the top of these train carts, just giving that information before you move in. Those smokes, sure, they can be a deterrence, but that's what Luna's all about.
Yeah, and this is something that the players were talking a lot about, making sure they're using their recon operators to get these respawn beacons down. So you're going to see a Luna, a Hat Claw on pretty much, if not every single squad. It'll be almost every single squad. Obviously, probably the one exception to that rule would be our squad that's in the tanks. Probably going to be the boys, mostly engineers. Complete onslaught right now, trying to find who's got the advantage on C1 and C2. As a reminder, this goes C1, C2, then we go D1 and D2. And I would say C1 and C2 is where I've seen a lot of maps end here on Trainwreck. So this is going to be a tall task for the attack. So far, they've already done what they needed to win the tiebreaker, and everything else is just a cherry on top, potentially winning this tournament here.
Definitely is. Funky barricading forward, making those call outs, still looking for the angles. You've got this fence here, and we're just going to keep on swinging for the hills. Data knife going out, and well, goodbye, vehicle. We'll see you later. Working towards this, and I like these angles. If you're going to jump onto the stairs, filter through the doorways, leave minimal openings for the opposing side to come on in the jump down. Could you imagine if we just hit something crazy instead of just losing our life right there?
Yeah, I love talking macro, but I do love watching the micro hero plays of somebody going absolutely massive on the map with some crazy outplays.
I was ready for it. I was ready for it, but their friend went ahead and took them down, and instead we lose our life in the process. But you see the shields coming on in, and we're going to slowly barricade in. Little DJ out towards the left, not before being ripped down. Now, here is the ultimate standoff inside the building, just constantly keeping apprised of these windows on either side. But when you have multiple players filtering through, Click, there's maybe like a meter worth that he can actually get hit from up here. And he's using this cover nicely with the angle.
Patience is a virtue oftentimes on these points. And since this is the first time we've seen a 2-point capture zone, I will continue to use the terminology I've been using for now almost a year on this game, ever since the open beta. This is the classic tug of war, and it's right now absolutely heavily moving towards the attacking side as they have C2 and are pushing for C1 right now. Unbelievable effort from the attack, absolutely dominating this competition. Usually the tug of war lasts a bit longer, where the defense holds one point, the attack holds the other. They then change points, hand them off. But right now, the attack's done a really good job of capturing one, leaving the tank on that point, and just about everybody else besides a select few players moving over to the other. So because of that, they've been able to capture C1 and C2 and have full lives going into D1 and D2. This is a monumental moment here. As a reminder, we were talking tiebreakers, folks. We may not even need it. We are going, this is a single best of 3. We are going into D1 and D2 for the game. Unreal.
Insane, but what do you expect when you've got no full save here on Team Bravo? We spent a lot of time watching them. That's going to be Canyon, Click, Crazer, and Cupid. And, well, quite frankly, when you had your top fraggers from game number 1 on the attacking side of things now, you know it's going to be really tough to try and stop any sort of flow that they've got moving on. But for Alcatraz, we're going to sit on board here with them. Team Red, White on your screen. And, well, we'll wait for the rest of them to get back on board. But for now, it's NSD and Alcatraz trying to get into that next course of action. But this train broken down bridge should provide a lot of those angles on this maneuver towards the next points.
Yeah, and this is such an interesting point on Trainwreck 2. You got to remember, one of the only points in the game, actually, that D1 and D2, a split zone like this, is actually vertically stacked rather than kind of horizontally stacked. You got to kind of walk through D1 to get to D2. Of course, you can go around, but it's more of a linear path, which is going to be really interesting for the defense to see what they're able to do. They spawned very close to D2. It's going to be the easiest point to hold in the game, technically, because of respawn points. But with the amount of support systems that our attacker is going to be able to call in, you should see potentially some guided missiles or a lot more vehicles being called in for the attackers for this final push. They are taking D1 nearly immediately.
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do, and this onslaught that the attackers have been able to throw down here on Team Bravo has just been too much, and Team Alpha really doesn't have much time to completely stopped the bleeding on this sector objective. So we'll see what that's going to look like here. But for now, Vazia immediately getting ripped to shreds from just maybe showing a couple inches of their head at that point. So back to the bridge we go, and it just seems like chaos over chaos. Our observers are just finding all of the death.
Yeah, and here's a quick look at D1. Obviously has been captured already from the attacker's side. It looks like our vehicle warfare has continued as down onto the point. They're actually able to keep the vehicle alive. They win the 1v1 in the vehicle battle as well. Serial Killer is keeping their dreams alive, potentially take this. As a reminder, yes, this is a complete different, mode of play compared to what we saw last game, Tiff. But it doesn't mean this tournament is over. If the defense is able to hold on D1 and D2, we still go to game 3. It doesn't matter how far you go. You just got to get past your opponents. But to win this whole tournament, our attackers have to take both points. We'll see what they're able to do.
They really do. Well, you've got Turbo Supercharge here from Meet Your Memers. And, well, when you're on Team Alpha and you are on that savior side, you've got to do what you can do to finesse and find any angle as possible. Alcatraz there on that D1. That's conflicting, right? Because if you're on the defense, you're trying to carve it back, but it's been really difficult for that to happen. But when Westa starts to show up, that's going to be that Ruffalo team, and they're super close to being able to pull it back. But we just got to keep tabs because these angles, man, I'm telling you, they're winning on their close range engagements, their vehicles, and now even these mid-range battles.
Yeah, we've got another vehicle drop here. This was actually a pretty strategic play and a little bit of luck. They barely got it in time, but our commander signaled to hold D1, and it was being recapped. You can see it. It's green right now. It has been recapped mostly by the defense, but they got that secure just in the nick of time for that timer to be red right when that timer ended for the command order. So because of that, they were able to earn some extra score and be able to call on a vehicle. Immediately, we see some vehicle warfare off of the right-hand side. And almost instantaneously, Heisen's being taken down right now. It looks like our defense has set up well. And finally, with the tank off from the distance, this is going to help each other out. This is going to help the attack refine their footing. I think it's Yellow Love in the tank playing support from way down under, throwing shells downrange to try to take out some of the defense. And it looks like John the Bomb in the tank destroyer doing what he does best, which is wheel and deal and pick up a ton of kills. Basically 1v5ing on point D2, trying to open up a little bit of breathing room to retake D1.
Well, what I love, as soon as we saw the, oh, okay, look, I'm just telling you, sometimes you got to take a quick scope with a rocket launcher to make things happen, but they already have anti-tank mines down around the point, so making sure that these vehicles actually take the pressure moving on in. But Boy is going to answer back with some of the vehicles of their own. You can see that respawn beacon there on the bridge. Explosions coming on in, but you really see another vehicle. Look, you lose a vehicle, you bring one in. It's just that constant influx and chaos. But I love that Yellow Love, what they're going to be able to prioritize is throwing down that damage towards the opposing vehicle.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they connected on too many of them. So we're going to see the defense get into it. But this is a classic strategy. I think that's an IFV. We'll have to get a look at it here in a second. But, it's classic strategy. If you can take down vehicles before they land, fantastic. But that doesn't matter right now. Take a look at the top middle of your screen. D1 fully captured by the attack. D2 under fire right now. This is a huge push for them, and they've got urgent backup deployment time for another 20 seconds. It means your respawns are going to come a lot quicker. This is a huge push for the attack, and they're trying to make the most use of it that they can. Defense has swarmed the point. It's not looking like the attacker is going to be able to take it, but this is such a scare for the defense. They cannot lose both of these points, or they lose this whole tourney.
It's getting really close, and they're down to 100 tickets at this point, so we'll see how it goes. This is the closest it's been, but there's not a lot left on D2. It is down to the wire, and I'm starting to feel nervous.
Yeah, this is a heroic effort here from Voltaic and Codes. Deathshoker, Illusion, Justice playing fantastic right now. Really battling for position on this point, making sure all of these spawns. It's not about killing everyone. It's about killing as many as you can so that the numbers that swarm the point are weak enough to where you can make a defense. This is less about single heroic plays and more about the macro. But as we take D2, the classic tug of war begins, and the defense says, well, we can't refine position. Let's go for D1. Here's the problem. Classic strategy working flawlessly. Everybody go to D2. We sit a single tank on the point to make sure D1 would be nearly impossible to retake. Does look like the defense has restabilized a bit onto D2, but great effort from the attack. They're doing everything right. It feels like just a matter of time. I think the question is can they do it in enough time? Only 78 lives remaining, but doing everything right.
Yeah, so you immediately saw when we kind of panned back, it was that Ruffalo team, little DJ, be quiet. They were trying to make a play to recapture, but can we talk about how we just survived that? I'm talking these close range engagements, especially around those points have been wild, but D1, my eyes have been on that all day, because if you have Be Quiet, who had formerly played on Du Bois, has known success, knows what it's like to win, and just wants to feel that again, especially when you jump back to Polska Guram. They do not want to let it go in a 2-0 fashion. I can't imagine your Delta Force Global League European Warfare Season 1 champs are going to want that.
I totally agree. Kill feed lighted up by the attackers. Tank Destroyer, extremely valuable. This is something they want to keep alive. It's going to be able to make a lot of value on the point. Pupari did not find an angle there, was just trying to get that thing reloaded so he could potentially do a bit of damage, but with an engineers around, pocket engineer, absolutely valuable. But keep an eye top middle, and anytime we go to the free cam, you're gonna see it looks like all the defense has respawned here trying to push for D1. Gonna find an angle on D1 at the very least. D2 under fire right now, D1 under fire, and unfortunately a split push from the defense is actually probably not the play. You want to try to restabilize on a single point, and so now we've swapped positions. Take a look at this. Most of our attackers are on D1, and on D2 now we've got the tank in a select squad trying to make a push and open things up for their team. This is how you do it, folks. Very well coordinated.
Well, Toxic Squad, Vabatrow, gonna hit that res. It's gonna be brilliant to make sure that we keep that pressure on. It's been so close, but down to around 40 tickets now through the smoke, through the chaos. This is how you have to survive. Just bring it on out. You take pressure from behind, you hit that one, but that is where Stinger is clutch until you have the reinforcements that catch you from a different angle. Agson T here. I love the angles that we're taking, but someone's gotta rip this player off the hill or we're not gonna survive underneath the bridge.
This is such a difficult double point to take. Again, the linear progression of D1 and D2 is such an interesting kind of wrinkle in the twist of these 2-point capture zones. Here comes Alcatraz getting into the mix, saying, let me open things out for the boys. And by the boys, not talking about the team, talking about the overall side. Again, 5 teams of 4, all qualified to be here, split up onto separate teams and being asked to say, hey, we may have never played together, we may have played against each other, but now we've got to coordinate together. The attackers, Team Bravo, they won map 1 by holding point A, and they've pushed all the way to D2. They have 26 lives remaining. They probably have maybe one really strong push left, and Alcatraz is going for it right now, getting into the mix the best they can while keeping their vehicle alive to coordinate this push. They have full control over to D1. A couple folks on the flank, they're holding it correctly, trying to get everybody respawn to make this push, and they've done it. We're on to D2, Tiff. This is a huge moment for them. It's on the back of this forward squad. I think that's Q-Pitch, I think, on the point, and then we've got the Tank Destroyer playing backup. They found an angle on the backside, and here comes the defense.
Yeah, but with 16 tickets, D2 has been the most complex, but you're gonna do it. Bring in the artillery barrage. Let that do work. If not, you're going to force these people off the point, and hopefully we can make something happen. We hit a res, we preserve a ticket, but the explosion comes in, and we are collateral damage. Canyon there, dead center on D2. Gets shredded, but look how close we are. And with 7 tickets remaining, it's going to be a close one, Ghosh.
It's insanely close. D2 is being completely captured here. Some last moments from vehicles to get onto D2. They've grabbed it. D2 fully contained. D1 is about to be captured as well. The final push from the defense to try to hold either point. They've taken a little bit back of D2, and there's only 1 life remaining. A guided missile called in. I don't know if it'll matter. It's probably landing directly onto D2. It couldn't get any closer right now. And just barely, the defense is going to win this one. It literally could not have gotten any. That we can see how all of these teams do as well, but let's take a look at the overall. And again, it is 1-1, but this is a really